Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be part 2 of the video series on the 1983 Midnight Blue 300 CD. And as you guys saw in part 1 of me picking up the vehicle, I just drove this 7 hours home. And it was flawless, not a single problem. So the point of today's video is I'm going to get it up on the lift and I'm going to completely go through the car, inspect everything, see what needs to be fixed, changed, replaced, just try to find any issues with the vehicle. I already know of a couple of things I want to do and I'm going to show them in this video. But guys, I have not washed, detailed, nothing on this car. And there's a little surprise that I want to show you guys on this car. You might have seen it over my shoulder. Bam! Euro headlights. Those are expensive, you guys. And, when I was driving back, it got dark, so I had to use the headlights. And you're talking about a night and day difference between US spec and Euro headlights. These are brighter. They work better. It's more like a modern, well, not modern. All the modern stuff is horrible LED that blinds you. These are fantastic because I'm used to driving, all these original headlight US spec vehicles, like those right there. These are awesome. I love the Euro headlights, and doesn't that look fantastic? So, like I said, I haven't washed it, I haven't cleaned it. You can see there's bugs on the front and my fingerprints on the hood. So don't worry, all that will be cleaned up. The car has flawless paint. It's immaculate condition. And this is actually the nicest coupe that has ever come in to Woods and Barclay. It's also the coolest color. So let's go ahead and get this up on the lift, and we're going to show you how nice this car is. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to do on the inspection is go ahead and walk around the car and look at these bunt wheels. That's phenomenal. Those are original. That's not a repaint. Even the lug bolts don't even have marks on them. That's just amazing. Things I always like to look at under here, the lift points, the jack points. You can see they're not rusted. There's no corrosion around here. Same goes for the underside. That's the original factory finish. This car was out of Newport Beach, California originally. So, cars just simply don't rust out there. Nothing happens to them. You can see that jack point's absolutely perfect. Same goes for the bunt wheel back here. Let's walk around here and check the other side. Look at that. I don't even think there's a blemish on any of the bunt wheels. That's really hard to find that, guys. That's why I'm focusing on it. Nothing wrong with that jack point. All the trim along the bottom of the car, nice original factory condition. No damage. Let's go look under here. Yeah. Super nice condition. Let's go look at this front bunt up here. Guys, keep in mind, this is after a 7-hour road trip that they look like this. No damage, no rust spots, nothing at all. Also like to look at the upper control arms. You can see the boots are perfect condition. Sway bar bushings, excellent. No reason to change anything up there. Another spot I like to inspect on the front valance. This is called the valance or valance. These seams under here on cars that were in harsh climates, you'll see a little rust forming on these seams, and you don't have any of that on this car. I mean, rust is like a non-issue on this car. You can see, there's bug splatter. I just drove 7 hours. I'm going to detail it, and all of that will be removed. Yeah, this is great condition. Yeah, nothing up here. All right, so let's go ahead and raise it a little higher. No rust, no corrosion, no nothing around the car. Let's get this up on the lift and look underneath it. Okay, guys, keep in mind you are seeing this with me for the first time. First thing I always look at is this front oil pan. We can see that it is not covered in oil. There's no excessive leaking or drips. That means the oil pan gasket is great condition. The second thing I always look for is the cadmium plating. Look at that. It's still all on this engine, including, you can see back there, the oil cooler lines, the AC mounting bolt, the AC manifold lines. That is your lower control arm alignment bolt. See, it's all still intact. That means the car never saw a day of harsh environment or salty roads or any of that. The next thing I always move over to look at are right there, ball joints. So I was going through the service records and the ball joints were replaced just a couple of years ago. That is a perfect condition ball joint. Rotors, there's no grooving. I'll take off the wheels. We'll inspect those further. Brakes. Look, the brake caliper is not even rusted. Brake calipers always rust. Let's see. Let's check that. The tie rods are still stiff, still tight. You can see, look, the cadmium is even right there. Yeah, look how clean it is under here, you guys. That's the, I mean, this is a 50,000 mile car, so this is what you would expect. None of this stuff is worn out. God, I can't even turn that one. That is super healthy. Yeah, ball joint, brand new, boots are good. I think the previous owner said he changed these and might have 500 miles on them. And it's pretty obvious, I can tell that. Control rod bushings, boots not all torn up. I mean, this is just an incredible original car. Look at the cadmium on this line right here. That's the line, the transmission cooler line. Another thing I look at is where the oil filter housing mounts to the block. See how dry it is there? There's not a drop of oil. See that? That means that gasket is solid. There's no leaks at all from that area. Next thing I look at is just check the engine mounts. I mean, yeah, those are good. They're not ripped or torn up or flattened. Like I said, I drove the car for 7 hours. They're absolutely fine. See the plate that covers the top of the engine mount? You can still see the cadmium on it. It's actually zinc dichromate. We're all just so used to saying the word cadmium. Let's move back here. Oh, yeah, these are the bushings that mount to the exhaust. Look at that. They're not even worn, not cracking or anything. Now, like on all 300Ds and 123s, you always have surface rust on the exhaust, 100% normal. What you look for is the seam right here. This is where they mate together, and if there's any rot or corrosion that has affected it, you'll see black trails of soot out of here. You see there's nothing there. It's a completely tight, solid connection. I mean, this is a California car, guys. You're not gonna, there's nothing gonna be wrong with the exhaust. The transmission pan, completely dry. No drips, no leaks around anything. Let's check this side over here. Yeah, it's completely dry. I'm sure that gasket was changed when they did a transmission service. Yeah, it has to have been. So we'll move on back. Look, the transmission mount is still even excellent. You can see how clean, you still see the factory markings up in here. See how clean that is on the end of the transmission. The flex disc, there's no cracks or tears in the flex disc. I mean, you can run these for 150, 200,000 miles before having to change them. There's the markings on the original front drive shaft. Let's check the bushing under here. Drive shaft center support bushing is tight. Muffler, excellent condition. I guess Mercedes used, I see this on all the cars. You always have surface rust on the front pipe, and this is always perfectly clean. They used like a stainless steel pipe back here, and I think that is because anything that would be kicked up from the wheels possibly would go up on the exhaust pipe. So I guess that's why they used a stainless steel back here. Or maybe that's galvanized, I don't know. But these are never rusty. Let's look back here. I mean, the brakes are not even, they're not even rusty. The boots, look at the condition of this boot. When you get new boots on the axles, they don't look really much better than this. Yeah, that's great. And you see where the paint's come off here a little bit. That doesn't mean anything. And you just have your typical, it's just a little dirty, you know, totally normal. It's not dripping from the differential. Oh, I can see someone's already serviced this differential. You see there's a little bit of RTV squirted out right there. Because from the factory, they would not use RTV. And when they've been serviced, you always see guys put RTV there. So this is, differential's already been serviced. Yeah, I also see where the fuel hose has been changed right here. Someone already took care of that. This is just a remarkable car. So far, I have not seen one single issue. Shocks, you know, they got 50,000 miles on them. These shocks can go 150,000 miles. There's no reason to change any shocks. Let's look back here. You know, original muffler is good. The exhaust hanger, even the exhaust hangers are good. Let's check these sway. There's something I want to change right there. See the sway bar end link? The little boot around it is gone. Yeah, see how loose that is? So it's due. These are due to be changed. Those are probably the originals. Yeah, you can see it over here too. Let me see if I can show you how loose that is. Yeah, that I'm changing those sway bar end links. I mean, really? Is that the only thing I'm finding on this car is sway bar end links? That's ridiculous. All right. Just got your typical dirt. Like I said, I just drove 7 hours in this car. No rust or anything up here in the, you just have some dirt. And I'm going to pressure wash all that, of course, when we get to the detail stage of the vehicle. So all that gets cleaned up. Let's go look over here. Let's look in this wheel well real quick. Yeah, there's not a speck of rust anywhere up here. These pans are good back here. Let's check our little vent. Yeah, even the little vent tube for the tank is still good. Look at the lines. They look like brand new fuel and brake lines. I love these California cars. These things are so awesome. They just, because they never see water. They never get wet. Yeah, this is fantastic. The only thing that I see under here that needs to be done is literally the sway bar end links. Look at that. There's the oil cooler line. It doesn't have a drop of oil on it. That's crazy. Look, it even still has the cadmium on it. Let's see the hoses. Yeah, the hoses are perfectly fine. You even have the cadmium over here. There's your AC manifold. There's your high pressure side. The AC even works in this car. Yeah, this is fantastic. All right. Yeah, that's, so really, that's all I'm doing, are sway bar end links under here. None of that needs to be touched. That is perfect. And I've driven the car, guys, for 7 hours. I would have known if something was worn out under here. So I'm going to lower it down. We're going to pop off the wheels and do a quick inspection. Then I want to do an oil change. We're going to see if the transmission was serviced. We're going to do the flush there if that needs it. I'm going to go back to the service records and see when that was done last. Let's go ahead and inspect the brakes now. All right. The rotors are fantastic. Super thick. The rotors aren't worn out. Also in the service records, they re-greased the bearings. So the bearings have already been re-greased. Yeah, that's excellent condition. Let's go ahead and check the thickness of the pads. Okay, you see that's a little surface rust on the edge of the rotor. But you can see, look how thick the pad is. I mean, those pads have, I would say, 75% life on them. No reason to even change the pads. All right, let's go check the rears. All right, same as the front, guys. There's still the factory marking on the backing plate. Look at that. I've actually never seen that before. It's usually so dirty in here. Look how clean that is. Let's check the pads. Okay, I want to change the rear brake pads. It appears the front ones have already been changed. There's like 75%, but I want to change these. You can see that pad. The rotor's good, but it needs some new rear brake pads. So there we go. That's really it. Sway bar end links. I want to change the rear brake pads. And let's go ahead and lower it down and do an inspection in the engine compartment. All right, for the engine compartment, keep in mind I haven't cleaned it, degreased it, or anything. That happens during the detail stage. But what we're looking at here, we're checking, well, obviously the cadmium plating's all here. It looks fantastic. So I'm looking at the diesel return hoses. Those are new. Those are Mercedes factory original parts. Those have been replaced. I'm also looking at things like vacuum lines. See, the rubber is not cracked. It's not dry rotted. The ALDA, or the ALDA altitude, is an altitude compensator. A lot of guys crack that cap off here and loosen the screw to get more fuel flow. That's like a modification people do to make them a little faster off the line. This has never been tampered with. That's awesome. I hate it when people tamper with that. Now, look, if you got a high mileage car and that's real sluggish, sure, go ahead and do that, but not on these low mileage cars. I can see back here the throttle linkage bushing to the firewall. That has already been changed, and Keith, the previous owner, actually did that. So that's awesome. All right, just looking at these lines here. Yeah, all these rubber hoses are excellent condition. Let's see if and it also recently had a coolant flush. I can see it's got the correct coolant in there. I don't even need to flush the coolant. Yeah, the air cleaner housing bushings, those have been replaced. This is tight. There's nothing loose under here. The little brackets here still have the cadmium on them. I mean, this car probably never saw water. Let's see how old the battery is. See if I can get a date code on the battery. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. Battery is summer of 2019, so I'm going to replace that battery. That's 4 years old. So I'll go ahead and get that battery out of there, do that. The hood pad, that's new. That's already been changed. The correct glue was used. Keith had that changed. So even the insulation on the AC manifold is still there. That's rare to see that. It's normally always, you know, just torn and gone. Hoses are all good. AC manifold. I mean, guys, there's really nothing to do under here. The valve adjustment was only done a few thousand miles ago, so I could pop the cover off to do a valve adjustment, but nothing would need adjusting. Mercedes says to do a valve adjustment like every 15,000 miles. Guys, I've done tons of these cars. If you do it at 15,000 miles, you're not going to find one single adjustment that needs to be made. 30,000 miles is the correct interval. And I mean, you guys might say, follow the book, do what Mercedes says, but I'm telling you, every time I pop them off at 15,000 miles, there's no adjustment needed. So you can extend that, you know, go up to 20, 25,000. You don't need to do it every 15,000 miles. Maybe when they're brand new out of the factory, every 15,000, but once you've done it a few times, they like settle in and they stay in adjustment better. I guess that's probably what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and check the mono valve here. Often the boot can break in the mono valve. And let me show you guys. I'm sure most of you know what a mono valve is, but I'll go ahead and show you. So down inside, there we go. There's a mono valve right there. Down inside that little housing I just pointed to, there's a valve and there's a boot, and that boot will tear. But see how that plunges up and down? When you turn on the heat, it will let coolant flow through. When you turn on the AC, it activates that and plugs the hole, and it will not let the hot coolant flow through the heater core. So let your AC run. And if that boot tears, it just stops doing its job. So we're going to check to make sure that's in good condition. If not, I have a bag of brand new OEM genuine Bosch mono valves. That's probably that's probably, it's $300 to get one of those. So that's like $1,500 worth of valves right there, you guys. Good buddy of mine sold me all of those that he got from a Mercedes dealer that had them in California. So that's really cool. All right. Another thing, so we got rear brake pads, sway bar end links, check the mono valve, and I definitely know there's an issue inside. I'm going to show you what that is right now. Okay, guys, I've got the lights turned off in the shop. Let me go ahead and sit in the car here. Now I'm going to turn the lights off on my camera, and I'm going to turn the headlights on. And notice none of the lights lit up here. None of the lights lit up here. So if you're driving at night, all we have is the shifter lights. None of these lights lit up here. So if you're driving at night, it will be completely pitch black. And I experienced that on the drive home. And what that is the dimmer switch, which is right there. It's behind the gauge cluster. Those dimmer switches fail. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, over here on the bench, we have some failed dimmer switches and some good dimmer switches. So here we go. Here is a failed dimmer switch. And here, what we can see, if you look up in there, you see that corrosion, but you see that spring? See how that spring is loose and kind of like trying to pop out of place? Well, that is the potentiometer that causes resistance. So it changes the brightness or dimness of your lights. Well, that little spring, see that one's loose, it's like jiggling around in there. It's become disconnected. That's what fails on these. So to solve that, we have a genuine Mercedes brand new dimmer switch. Let's see, I think it's this one. Not that one. Aha! There is my new dimmer switch. There we go. Let me show you this spring right here. See if we can get it to focus. There we go. See how tight that spring is? How it's not moving around? This is a good dimmer switch. So we're going to go ahead, and they're made by VDO. That's the OEM manufacturer. So we're going to go ahead, pop out the gauge cluster, and change that dimmer switch to bring our gauge lights back. All right, so like I said earlier in the video, I've already driven the car for 7 hours. I have a really good idea of what needs to be done. But as you saw in the video, rear sway bar end links, dimmer switch, rear brake pads, and there was a couple other things I think I said in the video. But we need to do all the an oil change. I need to check the transmission fluid. The rear diff, that's already been serviced. The coolant, that's already been serviced. I'll check the transmission, and other than that, this car is ready to go, ready to drive for another 7-hour trip. So hope you enjoyed this initial inspection, and we will see you in part 3 where we're doing that service on the car. I'm going ahead and raising up the vehicle to start that service, but also a part that I left out, I want to go ahead and change the thermostat. I don't know if that's ever been changed. I didn't see it in the service records. So just for, to be safe, it's not overheating, it's running at the right temperature, but who knows, that could be the thermostat from 1983. So I'm going to go ahead and pop out that thermostat and put a new thermostat in there too.